All right, thank you very much. Welcome to this last talk on the business track on process optimization with semantic text analytics. I'd like to keep you alert and awake for the rest of this session and also share with you some experience how text analytics works in the industrial environment. My name is Richard Forster, and we at Vavion, we decided to split tasks, so I will be doing all the talking on stage, and Samuel Pasquier, who's sitting here in front, is our business manager. He's going to do all the talking off stage. You'll find him afterwards at our booth, together with our colleague Klaus Blank from Expert System, who is sitting at the back right now, and they will gladly explain to you what we're doing. A few words about myself. PhD from the Computational Linguistics group in Zurich. I've been involved with languages and text ever since, and if you get bored with this topic, you're also very welcome to talk to me about chess. I've written hundreds of articles on the subject, a few books, and played in 6 Olympiads for Switzerland. I work for Vavion in Olten. I'm responsible for semantic technologies and cognitive technologies. We are a software development and integration company partnering with Google, Fusion and Expert System, and our mission is straightforward. We want to help our customers achieve true digital transformation, and as you can see, a number of big players, they trust in our services. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Cogito, the semantic text engine, probably the world's leading semantic text engine, developed by Expert System, an Italian software company with over 200 employees worldwide, and which has been in the business for 25 years, specializing in natural language processing. It's probably the biggest pure play NLP vendor in the market today. Cogito is multilingual, currently covers 14 languages, and is particularly strong in English, French, Italian, German, and Spanish. So basically what we need in Switzerland. Cogito is used in all major industries around the globe. Banking, finance, pharma, telecommunications, press, media, secret services, all rely one way or another on Cogito. The secret to Cogito's success is really, I think, its unique semantic network, which is the richest, probably most comprehensive and accurate around. And the combination of that semantic network, tight integration with syntactic rules, allow you to really understand language similar like humans do. And we heard it this morning in the keynote by Verena Rieser, how bringing in semantic resources is probably a key to future text analytics success, and that's exactly what we do with Cogito. In addition, we've often heard in many talks how difficult it is to get enough great data for learning. And by having this semantic network in place, we've got a huge advantage in knowledge right at the beginning, meaning we can often succeed with far fewer data points. They still have to be good, but we don't need millions, we maybe only need a few thousands or a few hundreds. Now I'll be talking about insurance processes, so here a very brief recap of how insurance works. First, you get in touch with the insurance company, you exchange information, and you sign a contract. Second, unfortunately, you have an accident. Police comes, doctors come, repair services do their work, and at the end of the day, oops, I was too fast, you go back to the insurance, and you reclaim money for the expenses you had and for the, depending on the case, general damage for Genugtuung if it was someone else's fault. And ideally, this is the sequence in which these steps happen. And if they don't, then we're usually talking about fraud. Now, for text analytics to be successful, at least 4 factors stand out in an industrial environment. You need to be talking about high volume, you need to talk about high worth, high amount or large amount of semi or unstructured information, and a fair degree of standardization. And in the insurance business, all of these are met. Swiss insurances have over 116,000 employees worldwide, so this is a mass business with often hundreds of people working on the same or similar processes. There is high worth. Swiss insurances, for general insurance cases, pay out over 17 billion Swiss francs a year. So even a tiny saving, percentage saving, is still worth a lot of money. We've got quite a lot of unstructured information, so usually about a dozen of documents for an insurance case and roughly 100 pages of text we're talking about. And most of these texts have a fair degree of standardization. So we keep talking about bills, about contracts, about medical reports, police reports, etc., which come in many different flavors and with slightly different language, but we're still talking about the same things, similar technology, similar patterns. So that's exactly where we can succeed with a text analytics approach. Because there are lots of people working on lots of paperwork. And that's really what it needs to create value. Let's get now into one particular process, the claims process. And I would like to show you some applications that we did, we at Vabion, and together also Expert System, the company that stands behind Cogito. Insurance business is very competitive, so I'm not allowed to show you here concrete names and not exactly the screenshots from the real applications, but I think you still get a pretty good image of what we can do and what we achieve. In the claims process, we differentiate 3 different steps. So first, it's about liability. Are we, as an insurance company, are we liable in that particular case? Is it a legitimate claim we're facing? If yes, then valuation. We have to find out, okay, how much do we owe, what has to be paid, which are the real expenses, what is appropriate in terms of general damages. And then usually at the end there is a negotiation step because expectations usually vary and we have to find a solution for a final settlement. And in all of these we can use or do use Cogito. First, a company we're looking at here with 250 claims handlers working on average 3 to 5 days on a case. For the liability decision, they now use Cogito as follows. Cogito gets all the text documents coming in. If necessary, there's an OCR step to make it machine readable. Then we categorize the text and attachments. We find out the key facts about this particular claim, which allows us to route it to the right team to handle it. And then Cogito does a more in-depth analysis to get out all the information we need for this liability decision. So information about the contract involved, about if it's a motor accident, about the vehicle, about the injured parties, and then matches it to the contract database, finally generating a proposal, well, either to reject or to accept that claim, which is then reviewed by a human handler. What this company sees is substantial benefits in that they were able to streamline their human review time from days to hours. They saw reduced claims leakage, meaning there's less cases where they pay and didn't have to pay, so they're no longer paying unnecessary money. And they're able to do smarter analytics because they have now a much more streamlined process and better data. Looking at the second company, also a different market, about 150 claims handlers working here on several thousand cases a year. Similar start at the beginning, documents are categorized, analyzed, and then, because here the focus is on valuation, we have an in-depth analysis of the medical codes of the injuries that the doctor reports, how severe they were, how long it took for the patient to recover. Also, what was past medical history, what were the pre-existing conditions, because all of that is important and is then fed into an algorithm that calculates an appropriate payout for that particular case, which then, again, at the end is reviewed and assessed by a human being. What this company sees is already, again, a reduction in human effort by about 2/3 of the time. They get a more consistent evaluations and assessments because it's now the same algorithm, it's not 150 different people with different interpretations. And they also see or expect a reduction in leakage because they should no longer be paying out too high damages in particular cases where previously a handler had a bad day or was off to lunch, would accept too far a sum to pay out. Finally, a third case where the focus is on the negotiation step. And again, Cogito helps a lot. After the first analysis, which is again similar, there is now here a number of business rules that are implemented both on simple facts and complex facts that have been extracted from the case documents. And on the one hand, what we have here is an early fraud detection system. So there are a number of typical cases and facts that are checked automatically, and if yes, the case is flagged for further investigation. And there is also an algorithm to extract certain arguments for the future negotiation. So for instance, if Cogito finds in the text that the patient returned to work on the same day as the accident happened, and in the claim, there is a claim for 2 weeks of time of work, for instance, if they want some additional money, then Cogito immediately finds the difference and alerts the handler to use that as a negotiation argument. Again, similar benefits, higher reliability, process is better, more standardized, faster, and they reduce payouts. Very briefly, impression of the interface. So what you see here is one case where on the left-hand side you see the kind of data that is extracted. So simple data about the claimant, about the fact, but also more complex data, description of the accident. And on the right-hand side you see the context. So here you see actually the document or documents from which the data was extracted. And what you see here is that instead of having to read a report of 64 pages, the claims handler is has at once all the main data available and just needs to double check a few details. Here is another case, another illustration where we have two reports that are examined. So there's a medical report describing, among other things, is a description of how the patient described the accident to the doctor. And then there is a different claim form where there's also an accident description. And Cogito checks and finds here that the two don't match, because in one case it's about a driving car, in another case it's a stationary car. So this is flagged, then probably will be brought to the fraud investigation team, and if the suspicion is confirmed, the company obviously saves money by not paying out anything for that case. So, let me recap by using text semantics, text analytics, and the semantic Cogito engine. The insurance companies that we looked at were able to very significantly reduce time and effort spent on each case by the humans. They were able and are able to reduce leakage as well as improve improving the consistency of their fraud detection process. They now have a much better data set, have more consistent data, more consistent analysis. And last but not least, and very interestingly, in the course of these projects, they also learned much more about their own processes and what they were actually doing. And it turned out that what they supposed they were doing in practice, and they really did in practice, they were often quite different things. And because procedures and guidelines, not everything was followed as it was planned. They also learned which factors are actually important driving the payouts and which factors, where they also spent a lot of time on, didn't affect the outcome at all. So I think there was an additional insight they gained from this process. With that, I more or less come to a close. One final remark, what you saw just now was English examples, but Cogito, as I mentioned, is equally capable in French, German, Italian, and can do just the same things in those languages as well. And with that, I close. If there are any questions right now here, afterwards, outside at the booth, or next days and weeks per email, very welcome, and thank you for your attention. Yeah.
In the life insurance business, usually the format of the claims is quite diverse. There is also quite a bit of handwriting, especially if the claims are coming from the French market. How much this layout diversity in the claims plays a role in actually detecting and making decisions with Cogito?
Well, definitely handwriting is is a challenge which, I mean, Cogito is in the end, it's working on text, so you're not doing part of the solution needs to be a pre-processing step, and especially for handwriting, I don't know what you do, but probably someone types it in, or then we kind of recognize, this is handwriting, this is not legible, and this would then go to a more standard process where a human would have to read the text.
So, sorry, follow-up question. The assumption is that the starting point is plain text.
Yeah. Yes, so, yeah, I mean, basically, OCR, we don't have our own OCR solutions, and we rely on OCR solutions that are out there in the market. And then you have plain text, or you can also work with certain structures. I mean, if you've already got structured text or section text, that can be used and will be used, of course. But otherwise, plain text is the default input. And Cogito is pretty flexible in that once you know the diversity of cases coming, more or less. You can also write some flexible rules to cover for differences, individual differences. But of course, if someone comes and does it completely different than anyone else, then it might get difficult. But then usually these systems, they have some catch mechanism that recognizes if something is very different from the rest, and make sure that this gets reviewed in time by a human and doesn't just get processed through as if there was nothing in it at all. Yeah?
And you very nicely outlined the overall pipeline, analysis pipeline, so to say. Could you shed a bit more light on the actual semantic features that now make your product stand out?
I think that on the one hand, it's good industry NLP tools, and really the thing standing out is the semantic network. It's called Sensigrafo, which has been developed over 20 years, which is constantly developed further, which has some, different languages have different Sensigrafos, but it's some 300,000 concepts. So it's based on concepts, which then are linked to different words, but it's based on concepts. and there is a very sophisticated connections between them. So you have hierarchy, but you also have very different roles, where you can see, okay, what did I recently see? For instance, there's a concept of an IPO, initial public offerings, a company going on the stock market. And Cogito, for instance, knows this is something which only companies can do. And it also knows an IPO, going public, is a different term. And if I say someone goes public, if it's a company, Cogito knows that most probably means it's going to sell stock. If it's a person that goes public, Cogito knows it must be a different meaning of that word to go public. So I think that's the real success factor, the key, the secret, and I think it's also very well protected. And then there is, of course, the long experience, and it's really a stable product. It runs fast. It's an industry product, and that's what makes it successful in practice. Plus, we have specializations in different markets, so for finance, for instance, or for crime and technology. There are additional tools on top, so to say.
Just okay. Well, I think we're 3 minutes late, so I invite you to talk at the booth. So the next plenary session is in 10 minutes. The other